I can eat that girl for lunch. Gotta love it.
Is that what you were doing?
What?
Well, you were just singing.
What do you think I was singing? No, really, what do you think I was just singing?
Billie Eilish?
Yeah! Oh my God. Wait, you knew that?
Oh my God, what do you think I am?
Okay. But this was part of my update today. Are we recording?
Not yet.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Fine. You ready?
Yeah. Oh, because fuck. I always forget we have to do the thing. Are we actually recording?
Yes.
Oh, I knew it. Oh my God. Okay. I'm ready. Holy shit. It's like in my veins. I can feel it. Okay.
I am Doug Friedman.
I am Kenzie Janest.
And this is Your Mental Breakdown,
the podcast.
And we are still here.
Somehow still here, not unraveling, although I feel like I am in like a good way. You know, like when you unravel in like a good way.
Oh, yes. I love unraveling.
Okay, but
that's
really
just
though?
like letting loose, letting go. Like,
yeah. I have a story about that, about letting go. That actually was what I was going to lead with today.
I thought you were going to lead with caffeine.
Okay, but that's because you can tell how jacked up I am, right?
I thought that's because you were working out.
Thank you. Can you tell now?
I thought you don't do it for the jack effect.
I know. I knew you were going to bring it back to that. It's not about that. It's about maintenance. It's about health. Okay.
Speaking of health, unravel.
Unravel. So here's my unraveling.
Go.
Coffee. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. You know what I mean? I did not start drinking coffee until this year. I'm 31.
Are you serious?
And yes, I am completely serious.
Wait, you mean coffee, not caffeine.
Coffee, not caffeine.
Because you've had your matcha lattes.
Yes. I'm a tea girly.
Yeah.
Love tea. The L-theanine or L-theanine, however you pronounce it, in matcha, it just really works for me. Mm-hmm. Coffee, though, undeniably tastes better. Like, I'm sorry. There is no way to make matcha taste as good as coffee. And so I have recently gotten coffee. So I'm now drinking matcha in the morning and then coffee after.
Wow.
But sometimes I have to do decaf. Today, I have had so much caffeine. Okay, wait, this is what I was going to say. Listen, I'm going to be pinballing today.
Wait.
What I was going to say is, do you know, Doug, when...
I do know Doug.
But
We've
you
had
don't
a very
drink
intimate
caffeine.
relationship over the years.
Okay. Doug, comma.
Yes, Kenzie.
I'm talking to you, period.
Gotcha.
You do not drink caffeine anymore, correct?
Correct.
So I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but that feeling...
Hold on. Time out. I just said this to you.
You wouldn't understand.
Like 10 minutes ago, and I'll say it again.
You weren't supposed to say that. See, I was like trying to be cool with it.
Well, in that case, when I was your age, I had more coffee than you could shove a bookshelf at. I don't know what I'm saying. No.
Yeah.
But yes. Do I know coffee? I very much know coffee.
Like on a personal level?
I had a very deep personal relationship with coffee over the years.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say like on an enema level. Don't do that.
Never done that.
Folks,
Never done that. But I've heard
that.
people talking about how amazing that is.
No, don't do that.
Really?
Please don't do that.
Okay.
I have heard from the scientific community that is begging people to stop doing that. It is not good for you. Okay. Anyway, I'm not an expert, so maybe Google it because Google is definitely the expert.
By the time I was your age, I've had more coffee in me than
you have an intimate relationship with coffee, a very close one.
I have
You've
had,
consumed it a lot. You have had experience. So you've had experience in what I am talking about, which is that
I have.
You drink so much caffeine and yet you are still tired and like yawning. Like I feel wired.
Yeah.
I feel wired. I feel the energy coursing through my veins, but I am also yawning and feel like I could fall asleep right now.
Yep.
What's up with that?
Were you ever a college student trying to get through finals?
Of course. Of course, Doug.
Yeah.
That's how I made it here to my current career, surprisingly.
You know, the day you quit caffeine, you're going to sleep for like Rip Van Winkle 20 years.
Okay, when I had bronchitis for 2 months, somewhat recently, didn't drink caffeine that whole time.
How well rested were you?
I mean, of course, I was sleeping like a baby, but also not really.
You were like waking up every couple hours crying and pooping your pants?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I was sleeping like a baby because I was not pooping my pants, but I was coughing up a lung. So I was still net result sleeping like a baby, like not well. Yeah, why do people say sleeping like a baby as if that's a good thing?
I don't know.
They don't sleep a full like 8 hours. They sleep like a 16 choppy hours.
I also don't like sleeping like a log.
Why? Because they're okay. Why?
Logs aren't sleeping.
Well, Doug, The king of analogy. Okay, so that actually makes sense because you're critiquing a metaphor or a simile. Sleeping like a log.
I would say sleeping like a dog. Because dogs
can... Or a cat?
Sure. Because they can go out like that.
Yes, that's
and stay out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although any little noise might drive them away. I was going to say,
see?
So, yeah, I don't know.
Actually, I sleep like a bear.
We digress.
In hibernation.
Hibernation. That's good. I like that.
Okay.
I like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Get back to coffee. You had a point.
That was it.
It's going to be made. It's not going to be made?
There's no point. It was... That was it. I was just going to say, just in a moment of trying to relate to my co-host, don't you ever feel wired, but also like you could pass out?
Absolutely.
Also, here's another thing that I could relate to you on. Billie Eilish. You knew that I was singing her.
Yeah.
She has a new song. Very fun. Okay, this is my update for everyone who gives a shit. It's probably nobody. I like some pop music.
What?
Oh my God.
Wait. Do you like the actual music, or do you like that it's her and what she stands for and who she is? And
I don't know who she is or what she stands for.
Really?
I don't pay that close of attention.
Okay, great.
Yeah. But her, why? Should I not? Or do I? Well, she's like a queer, fun pop girly. I like that.
There you go.
Those are typically the people I like.
Right.
So her and Chapel Roan.
Oh, I don't even know. Wow, you got me.
It kind of makes sense that you don't know her, actually.
Oh, wait. Is it actually?
Red
I think
hair.
it's actually pronounced. Brand new album just dropped. I think it's Eminem.
I knew we were about to get a joke. I just knew it. Eminem does have a new single out. Isn't that weird? Wait, you didn't know that? You were just saying that?
Houdini. The song is called Houdini. Oh my God. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I can't keep up. I can't keep up today.
You need more coffee.
No, I really don't. I have decaf. That's decaf.
Okay.
I know somebody out there understands the multiple drink thing where you need like multiple bevies.
Oh, right.
I've got an iced coffee and the delicious, fresh farmer's market ginger tea that Doug makes me every time.
Ginger lemon tea with
ginger
little
lemon.
Manuka honey?
Excuse me.
What you don't have is just plain water. That would complete the trio of beverage.
It's in my purse over there. Okay. But like, who needs water when you have delicious ginger lemon tea?
Right. You have your
coffee?
hot, you have your cold, but I think you need lukewarm. Because if I were to describe you, I think I would use that.
My jaw just dropped. Would you describe me as lukewarm? That is not at all. Maybe. Why are you laughing?
Because that's not how I would describe you at all.
Exactly.
It's just getting you going.
Yeah. I'm reactionary. Reactionary?
What?
Reactive.
No, you're not.
I've gotten better. Speaking of respond and not react, right? I've always been told I'm a reactive person, but I'm using it. I'm hyping it up for the bit of it all. You know what I mean? This is just not really me anymore.
Yes, and I like how you're doing that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm getting better. Okay, so...
So what?
So let's get to Drew.
Okay, we can get to Drew.
Nice, juicy, existential convo.
It is juicy, gets a little existential, and I will tell you guys, no spoilers. I mean, kind of a spoiler, but you find out almost instantly.
You're about to, yeah.
So there was a phone session that I did with him before this.
Okay.
So our numbering convention is officially called 104 and 105. Or 105. I don't know the numbers. This is
like the title of the podcast.
The number of his session.
Oh, I don't think people care, Doug.
Probably not, but I do.
So you're talking to yourself.
Accuracy.
I appreciate
because
that.
there was a phone conversation that didn't get recorded. We don't include. This is not sequentially the very next session. There are two of them that we're combining because the phone call was pretty much talking about to have the baby, and this session. Here's the spoiler.
He has the baby. Well, he doesn't have the baby.
They had the baby.
Well, no, she had the baby.
She had the baby. They have a baby.
They have a baby now.
They have a baby boy, a beautiful, healthy baby boy. And if you would like to have a healthy baby boy, you can find us on social media. What? You can reach out to us, email us at info@yourmentalbreakdown.com.
Sure.
And tell us about...
this is such a stretch. But I'm going with you. I'm being supportive today.
Yes, and
you're really yes-anding.
Yeah.
If you want to have a beautiful baby boy, check us out on social media to see Beckett, Doug's beautiful baby boy.
Who did join you on the couch for a minute today.
He really did. Yep. And he's already gone.
Well, last week he joined you at the end.
He did.
This week he joined you in the beginning.
So next time he'll join me in the middle.
There you go. See, and there's your trio of Beckett, Beverage, Joy.
There
all right,
is.
now
Bevy,
we're done.
Beckett,
all right,
Beckett,
we're out.
Bevy
We will be back with you.
See ya.
Bye. Wow. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all,
thank you.
Yeah, how you doing?
Much better today than I have been.
Yeah.
So we just basically got in the car and made our way over to the hospital. And then we started the whole process and, kind of walking in and feeling that feeling. It was cool because I'm not one to take a lot of pictures. And it's just, But this was one of the times where I really wanted to balance taking pictures for memories and being really in the moment and living it and seeing all of it and feeling everything that I was feeling as I was walking through it. It was a beautiful room and just, it was very comfortable. It was me, her, and her mom. And so that's kind of when my not uncontrollable, but not being in control anxiety kind of kicked in.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe around 11 o'clock, midnight, I kind of had an epiphany of just kind of letting that go and knowing that the nurses were there for a reason and we're in a good place and everything's as it should be. My anxiety was still kicking because I had no idea what was going on, and I kind of figured we were going to be there maybe a day and stuff should have happened and boom, boom, boom. And let's get this process started. Right. So it was more of an anticipation anxiety at that point. Sure. She kind of looked at me and she was like, yo, I feel something, it's about to happen. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. And so I called the nurse in and she was like, oh, shit. Let's get this rolling. And so then 7, 8 doctors roll in and they get her all up. I'm right next to her, kind of leg in my arm type situation. Wow. And then 1, 2, 3 pushes later, I saw him come out, literally pushed 3 times and he was out. So it was wow. Incredible. And that was probably where all of my, that's where I went down the rabbit hole and down the deep end right then and there. So he came out and he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his head and he was completely purple. Signs of life, but not new baby sign of life. And so the nurses instantly handed him over to us and we were sitting there and I remember exactly the moment and the feeling and everything that it was, because I was so excited, I was so scared, and I was questioning yo, what's going on? Is he okay? And I didn't know really how to control all of those emotions, and so I just kind of sat there and smiled, and I almost was out of body. And girlfriend, thank God, was hey, somebody should do something. I don't think he's okay. And then they were like, oh, fuck, you're right. He's not okay. We need to do something now. I'm in kind of mass panic at this point because they're taking my baby. He's blue. I don't know what's going on. Nobody's really saying anything. Then those nurses come in, another 12 nurses. So there's probably 20 people in the room at this point. Wow. And they're all doing everything they can. They're rubbing his feet. They're squeegeeing the shit out of him. They're trying to burp him. They're doing this, that, wow. the other. And meanwhile, girlfriend's mom's there and she's an ER nurse. So thank God her chaos brain was there and she was looking at me. I'm looking at her. She's like, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. Everything's fine. This is normal. Right. Don't worry about it. And so, and pause. Let me do a shout out real quick. There was this nurse and that guy, to me, in my mind, the way I saw everything, saved my baby's life. And so they're about to take son down to the NICU and they kind of look at me. I look at girlfriend and she starts bleeding. And then they're like, oh, she has a fever. This isn't good. So I'm like, what the fuck? And so I look at her. They're like, Dad, you can either stay here or you can go down to the NICU with us. And so I looked at her. I'm like, baby, you're going to be okay. We had this moment where I knew she was going to be okay and she knew she was going to be okay. And she was like, go with our baby. I was like, cool, done, boom. This is the craziest part. And I think it's going to hit home as far as all the work that me and you have done over the last 3 years for this one moment. And so I came down, it was me and like I said, 10, 12 nurses. And now we get into a NICU room, which was maybe a third of the size. And so I just kind of sat in the rocking chair and they're like, just sit, calm down, just be here. And so I'm just sitting there crying and praying and just hoping and just, praying. That's all I was doing. And there was a couple of moments when I would come up and I'd hold his little hand and be like, you got this, dude. Keep fighting, keep going. It's going to be okay. When he had the umbilical cord, when he was passing from womb to real earth, he didn't have that breath. Right. He never got that. And so, they wanted to put him on the ventilator, and then the nurse was like, no, we're going to do CPAP machine and see if that works first. Because what they were saying was if they put him on the ventilator, he might not come off of it. Whereas if they tried the CPAP and did all of this, then he can start breathing on his own. And then we'll go from there.
Right.
And so that moment right there, I was like, fuck yeah, nurse. It's like my words don't describe the feeling of the gratitude I have towards him. And you know how emotional and like thankful I am in what all that is.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in my life where I just like, I didn't have words for how thankful I was. And it was cool because I know he knows. And he saved my baby's life. I love the doctors that were there. And that was Monday. So we go to sleep Monday night, kind of like, oh my God, like what a 24 hours that was. Like he's doing better. He's looking better. He's responsive. We're doing great, right? And then Tuesday morning, our doctor came in and was like, guys, listen, like I'm a little worried. I'm nervous. What she saw in the x-rays, she was like, I've only seen this maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years. It's really rare, but if we can catch it early, then we can fix it. I was like, cool. And at that point, I think I had maybe 2-3 hours of sleep, going through like the last 2-3 days. Yeah. So it's either we're going to go do surgery and go down this road, or he's going to come back and he's just had a poop and we're all good.
Right.
And so she was like, yep, you guys didn't hear, he's on his way back. And we're like, holy shit, yeah. So we held him for the first time around midnight, 12:30 Tuesday night. And then we came home the following day. So it was crazy is not even the right word. It was the most intense 4 or 5 days of my entire life. And it changed me. I think I'm getting to grasp the understanding of what I think life is all about. And I think going through this experience, the way I went through it and the community and the people that I had supporting me and everything within that has been the most beautiful thing I've ever been able to witness. And I'm super anxious. I'm super protective right now. And I think it's because of what that was and experiencing the trauma that we went through and just literally every couple of minutes making sure that my baby's okay. And I haven't been able to let that kind of settle yet. So that's something I'm really struggling with right now. And I start work again tomorrow. And one of the biggest things that we talked about was keeping our routine and starting a new routine and how important that is for me and what I do.
Yep.
And so I've been hitting the gym, hour and a half throughout it and trying to keep all of that. So routine's getting there too.
Yeah. Dude, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a breath. Take a few. You hit a few things like, I think I'm seeing the meaning of life and what that's about. I can feel like this has changed me. Okay, we're going to hit that. You can tell me the meaning of life and how it's changed you in a minute. But that sounds like it took a lot of courage. And you know where we talk about courage comes from, right?
Yeah.
I want to go back for a second to something. You in that rocking chair in the NICU, what you were describing is the most powerless, no control, scary, anxious moments you could possibly have. And you prefaced it by saying like, all of our work the last 3 years, it really put to the test right there. I just want to touch it for a second. How scary that was for you and what was going on for you and what came up and how you dealt with what came up. That's a lot of emotion that we're going to need to release.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about that moment and what it was and how I've been processing it a lot. And the best way I've been able to verbalize it to myself is that it was the first time in my life that I was ever afraid of death. I've had a lot of people around me like pass away and the thought of my mom and, the brother situation, like all my relationships as a general speaking, I feel like I've put such a big barrier around my emotions as far as loss and what that is. And this is the first time that I couldn't control the loss of what I thought was going to happen. And it was completely out of my control and there is absolutely nothing I could do. And I was so afraid of being so excited and the highs and lows that I've talked to you about of like when things are going really good, I expect them to go really bad. And that's kind of similar to the mindset I was having of like, oh my God, my baby boy is here and now I'm about to lose him. Like, I hear myself saying that, but I can't even comprehend quite what that is yet.
There's something about this it is different for you. And you're right that you've had a lot of loss around you and you've experienced this. There's something we can dig into in a second, which is, like you said, seeing the value of life and being afraid of death. I think some of that comes from something amazing, which is you are claiming your life as your own. If people live or die, it's whatever. It's just what happens. I mean, you even said to me early on in our work, like, yeah, I've seen death. I know what happens. I mean, life goes on. You have a memorial, you get sad, but whatever, life goes on.
Yeah.
I think there's a different appreciation for the preciousness of life when you're really living your own life for you. And your son is something you really want. And the thought of that can go away. Yeah, that's not just having existential anxiety that we've talked about before. That's looking at unfathomable loss.
Yeah. The shift in emotion that I felt through this too. I mean, I was always afraid to lose my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
I've always it's just been a fear. And now I have this weird new fear of even kid and son, them losing me and what that is to them, and almost like feeling their emotions for them, which, I think I've done a really good job over the last couple of years to understand that and not change it, but get a better grasp on where my emotions fit within those feelings. And this one I'm struggling with now because it's like, I can't imagine the way I would feel. I'm gonna feel, it's gonna happen eventually when my parents do pass. Like, I love my grandma. And like, I don't know if I'm just quote unquote being real about it. It's how I like to say it, or thinking too much into it, or just looking at it for something more than I should. But my thought on it is that son is never gonna really know her. The only way he's gonna know her is me talking about her. And that's hard. I think about my mom too, and the mom that I grew up with, and the mom that my mom is right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to picture me leaving my son with my mom right now. And that's a weird feeling because my mom, but I don't trust her. I felt these feelings in the way I'm kind of saying it, and I almost feel like I'm spewing, but I'm not. Because I feel like this is a collected spew. And I've made space for what this is in me. And I know I don't want to live like this forever. I don't want to be a parent that's always anxious, and I want my son to grow up and have fun. And I think my focus in all of this is I'm letting these emotions out and feeling what all of this is I so badly want to be excited and joyful and in the moment and proud and in a family unit, all of us together, which I've so desperately wanted for so long. And I feel like I'm the piece now that is worried. In my brain, I understand that comes with being a new parent. And I think it's difficult because my ego's being checked, because I thought I was a parent kid. And I realized the shift now and what that really is.
Right.
And trying to simultaneously work through my own stuff and be there for both of my boys and girlfriend.
Right.
Is taking a toll.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot here. There's something about being a father it's a whole new version of wearing a cape. It's not. It's having an S tattooed on your chest. You're never taking that off. Right?
Right.
With kid, you could put on a sweater that had an S on it, but you didn't have it tattooed.
Right.
It's just how it works,
Yeah.
So no doubt you'll do anything and everything, including challenging yourself not to be the helicopter parent. That's going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
You said something that I'll come back to, which was the idea of the only way he's going to know my grandma is me talking about her. You've got a lot spewing out. It's collective because it's all about becoming a father and life and what that means. Of course.
Yeah.
And you're looking at, oh my gosh, it's a lot. you're also sleep deprived. You've got a little bit of baby brain. Sure, you're going back to work, but it's different. Doesn't mean you give up on your hopes and dreams and what you're going to do. There's something also about this that's, he's only going to know my grandma through me talking about her. Your mom is going to be one of his grandmas. He's going to know her differently than you did.
Yeah.
You're going to get to know her differently than you have.
Yeah.
She might be a wonderful grandparent to him, even though as a mother, she fell short in a lot of respects.
Yeah. And sorry, I forgot to add this into the story. When we were still at the hospital, I was talking to my parents, and my dad was basically like, yo, don't think we're going to be able to come down because they're supposed to be here for that week. They both had COVID up until like a day or two ago. And so my mom was like, well, I can come down Sunday and Monday, and I'll just do a quick one. And I was like, no, not yet. And I think that's playing into what this emotion is for me, because going into this, I was so excited to share it with my parents.
Right.
And have them be a part of the whole process.
Yeah.
I think I did a little bit of supermaning with my mom in the sense of looking after her feelings and wanting to make her feel included. The conversation that I've had with her since is just, they've been a little deeper. They're not just so surface level and kind of going through it. But what I'm trying to say is, I had the conversation with her of, Mom, I'm not very comfortable with you guys coming down right now, but let's reconvene in maybe like a month or so. And then I come to find out that she's just been completely fucked up for like 2.5 weeks and can barely keep her head on straight.
Wow.
And so I get it, because she wants to be down here and she was nervous going into this, and now that she can't be here, because I feel those feelings. So I can somewhat I don't feel her feelings, but I understand what she's feeling. I think that's why I'm taking it more so on with grandma and everybody else, because I feel like me and my mommy are missing each other.
How is she as a grandparent to him right now? Well, it's okay if she doesn't come down. Oh, she'll come down here. Fine. As a mother, I'm still seeing the same woman that fell down, when I'm coming out of a stadium. He's not going to see it that way. And he doesn't have a lifetime of experience of that. And you're going to reconcile how you allow him to have a relationship with her that isn't clouded by your relationship with her.
Right.
That's down the line. Where you're not there right now. But that idea of him knowing your family and you, and in a sense himself, through you talking about them, is what parenting's about to a large degree. Because there are parts of your mom and your grandma that live in you and may even live in him because of your influence.
Right. I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question too, as I'm trying to make sense of all of this. In the moments like when I found my mom and when I knew she was in the hospital because she was trying to die, I didn't know it because she still hears, but I thought my time with her was limited, which made me leaving home really hard. And it was really hard to leave my mom because I thought I was never going to see her again. And that same feeling is similar to how I feel with son, because I don't know how much time I have with him. And so it's like a reverse existential anxiety now of like, I don't want to die because I don't want to leave him. Whereas before, I did want to die because I didn't want to leave my mom.
Right. It's ways of saying that you've got something worth living for in some respects.
Yeah.
In another, it's saying, I know what it's like to feel abandoned, and I don't want to abandon anybody. And especially when your son is so young and dependent. He can't do anything on his own right now.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen anybody get elderly, where they're back in diapers and, they need to be taken care of. They need to be fed. It's almost like going back to that place. Right? And life happens in between. And that idea of, I don't know how much time we have. Yeah. There's no guarantee. There's no telling. That moment, sitting there in that rocking chair, you're going to be telling your kid that story 5 years, 10 years, 25 years from now.
Yeah.
And you were very present for that moment.
I'm understanding my reassurance now too, and what that is. And I'm talking about reassuring myself, but I've also been getting it from girlfriend a lot too. The reassurance to know that I was there and I was present and I walked through that with my boy. I'm excited 20 years down the road to tell him that story and see his face light up and do all that stuff. As we've talked about it today, I'm feeling a lot more calm in what it is. And I think that's exactly kind of what I want to do. Like son too, is just be present one day at a time and enjoy the days and watch him grow.
And I think what you're experiencing is something pretty incredible, which is, like you said, when you were sitting there in the rocking chair, like it was, all the work we've been doing for 3 years, like really, you really called on that. Maybe not even consciously, but unconsciously, you certainly did. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a lot of work you've been doing about being okay, even if you don't feel okay, and the unknown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is out of our control. And you try to control as much of it as you can, and then you got to let it go. And you have pretty well. And that goes for your son, goes for girlfriend. It goes for your mom. It goes for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been hearing a lot too of I am excited for him to be a little bit older and not be a newborn. We're taking each piece of what it is and experiencing it as it comes. And it's been very challenging, especially having a kid or two, because he turns 4 in 2 weeks. And so having a newborn and a 4-year-old are two completely different things. And it's been really cool to watch him learn and experience what it is to be a big brother.
Right.
And still make mistakes and kind of correct himself and everything that is. And I'm learning how to better parent those situations through him with son. I feel like my dad, but I also see where he's coming from and I have the mistakes. And this, going back to my spewing for a second, it's incredible the influx of all these emotions that, again, like, thank you so much for walking through a majority of these emotions with me over the last 3 years. Because if these would have all compounded and been all in one moment, and I would have lost myself, I would have gone psychotic. Like, I know I would have. And I'm still going through it. But, touching on different emotions and being able to walk through that emotion with my people is one of the, I'm trying to find a stronger word than beautiful, but it's one of those experiences in my life that's not even a mile marker. I feel like it's like a whole mountain. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And I've been able to rely on people and trust people again through this. And not to say that, like, oh, if I go to the hospital and something bad goes wrong, I'm just going to lose all my... That's not what I'm trying to say. But I am trying to say that I found hope again. And I found hope in other people. And I found hope in me. And I found... maybe not the joy that I was missing, because I think it's a little different than what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But when we talked about the missing piece and what that poem is, and me understanding what girlfriend is to me, now throwing son in that, he's a part of me. It's almost like I took a piece of me and she took a piece of her, and now she's rolling and I'm rolling and he's rolling and now he's rolling and we're all 4 rolling together. And it's fucking cool to see it like that, because I'm still me. I'm experiencing a lot of emotion and I'm walking through it, I think, pretty well. And I still have a really, really, really long way to go.
Well, yes and no. You've got a long way to go to keep having these experiences. And it's something that, my boy Drew said to me a few years ago. If I'm living life right, then the days will turn into weeks, will turn into months, will turn into years. And that's cool. And from this place that you're describing, that's really cool. Because it is just being present for it, for all the good and the bad. A lot of people I talk to are waiting to get to this place over here, and then they'll be okay. Then they can relax. Then they could take their foot off the brake. When this brand hits and I'm making a bunch of money, whatever it might be, when I'm married, when my mom sobers up, whatever it might be. It's not about that. The goalposts are always going to keep moving. So it's never going to get to that place. The idea is that it's the journey, not the destination. It's the how we're going. Yeah. That's why I loved when he said the days will turn into weeks, turn months, turn to years, because that's just time going. Yeah. I think this experience for you is really driving home. You can be present, like you said, with all the emotions that are coming up. And it's something I think I might have said to you early on when we met. We were talking about weed, and I said, yeah, well, someday we'll get there, but reality is the trippiest of all. You know?
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
You put a weed haze on some of the things that you've been through, and it'll just be like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're really there for the experience, and it comes in strong.
I wasn't really smoking for like the last week or so. I did. Like I definitely did. And it was definitely just to kind of give myself a mental break and to relax just for a second and get some sleep.
Sure.
Couple of those times I realized, yo, I'm not very mentally present here. I hate this. And it was the first time in a long time when I was like, yo, I don't really want to be stony right now. So that was cool. And so my whole weed smoking has been much different. And I'm excited to kind of report and walk through what that is simultaneously, you know, within all of the umbrella of what we just talked about, because it's also making me feel more present for myself. And I haven't felt that in like 10 years.
It's more fluid though. It's not like you putting on the cape and doing everything for everyone all the time. It's more about like, you're shaking your, you get it, right? This is just, these are the things in my life that matter to me. It's my life.
Right.
Not I'm doing this for everyone so that I will be indispensable and I will, have meaning to them. And then that will give me meaning. No. This is truly the meaningful stuff in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels good.
Yeah.
It's scary as fuck. And it feels really good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This one guy once said, you can't have courage without fear.
We're back.
We are back.
What, you just stared at me and expected me to say it? Am I in charge now?
You're in charge.
I'm in charge now. We're back, baby. And we're talking existentialism. Not really, but there's existential themes here. I think it's funny that it's two sides of the same coin, life and death, you know? Like, it's interesting how life comes into the world. They have a baby, and almost the entirety of this episode is about death.
Right.
Interesting.
Well, because it's realizing now you have something to lose.
He keeps calling it like this reverse existential anxiety, but really it's the same
existential anxiety.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But I understand what he's saying. It's like, oh, instead of feeling this childlike sense of, oh, I don't want my parents to die, or like, now it's I'm the parent and I don't want to leave my kid because I know what it feels like to be abandoned. So I understand what he means. It's kind of a circular moment.
He's seeing it in relation to his kid. And then, we talked about that. Not himself with his dad, his kid, himself. Yeah. Circle of life.
The circle of life. Okay, so the ending, well, besides the whole like funny man says, oh, courage is, what did he say? Courage is fear walking?
You say that.
I say that?
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. I thought you said that.
No,
what do you say? What's your courage line?
I mean, you can't have courage without fear. You do the thing that you're afraid of, and that's what gives you courage.
You can't have courage without fear. Yeah, if you were just doing it without fear, then it really wouldn't be that courageous.
Courage is not fearlessness. It's doing the thing that you're afraid of.
With fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay. Where did I learn courage is fear walking? That's from something. I'm not that smart. I didn't come up with that.
No, that was from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
No, it's not.
No,
oh my God. That would be kind of funny though.
You probably read it in a book.
Yeah, I probably did. Let's be real. Oh, it's Susan David. It's a psychologist. Okay. Anyway, is it bad, Doug? This is my really good segue. Is it bad to have meaning in life, doing things for others? Maybe there's nuance to this. Obviously there is. It's not a maybe. But at the end, it's like, oh God, I'm so scared. Drew is so scared because he is finally feeling like I'm doing things for myself, my family, my life, me. Mm-hmm. That's a scary place to be when historically you are used to doing things for others. Where's the line, between making meaning out of doing things for others? Like that's pro-social and wonderful, but also when does it become unhealthy? Maybe, I guess, when you put all your meaning in being, okay, let's see when I answer my own question. But there was a word you used. It started with an E. Nope, it starts with an I. It starts with an I.
I extemporaneous?
Indispensable.
Oh,
is that the word you use?
Probably.
You've used that word with Sarah too, I think.
Yeah.
That feeling of being valued but not essential. Is that there's an overlap?
No, like so indispensable means that somebody needs
I know
you.
what
Right?
indispensable means.
Well, then why are you asking?
No, because I'm wondering about the overlap with Sarah, because there's something else that you said to Sarah, like you can be valued but not, what is the word? Like essential or something. Like you don't
indispensable.
Is it indispensable? Okay, so it is. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the idea for her at work was if she's not there, everything will fall apart.
Right. So you just say the same things to every client. No, I'm just kidding.
Pretty much.
Kidding.
Just with slightly different accents.
Do you use different accents? Do you talk
Indispensable.
differently?
Indispensable.
Oh, with different inflection?
Indispensable.
Is that an accent or inflection? We're going off the rails again. Can we get back? Gosh, Doug, you're so distracting. Can we get back on topic? I'm in charge, remember? Okay, this session is just a flood of feelings, right?
Absolutely.
How did you, not that you have to keep him in check, right? But like this is a session that is just about being in the moment, letting him spew. There is no direction. Like, did you feel like, okay, we're just going to be today. We're just going to let him, let it all out. Tell the baby story, like the birthing story. How much were you actually trying to like intertwine it back to like his goals and his overall?
So
you know what I mean?
One of the overalls is to connect him to his emotional experience and have him really feel it.
Yeah.
In part, side tangent, as he would say.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He's somebody who smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah.
So feeling things without the weed is something that's on the radar too.
Right. Which comes out a little at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
He will probably not remember this session, but he will remember the birth of his kid.
Yeah.
And I will be able to talk about, you were really feeling your feelings.
Hyped, like on feelings.
Like your spew that day was an emotional spew. And like the benefit of recording for the podcast is we can go back and go, hey, you can actually listen to yourself. Right?
I know. I was thinking about that as I was listening to it. I was like, I wonder like now, right, what he would think listening to himself during this session. Because all these feelings are very real, but they're also really heightened, right? Because he's so...
We even talked about the story of the nurse that saved his baby's life, like being able to tell his kid that story someday.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is beautiful. And I had a client who he and his wife were trying to get pregnant, and she had some issues, he had some issues, so they had to go through surgeries and doctors and this and that, and like, make it happen. And he was like, oh God, we're not going to be able to bring a kid into the world like the natural way. Right. But think of all the effort and all the love that it's taking to bring this child into the world. What a story you can tell them.
Yeah, that's a really good reframe, Doug. Mm-hmm. Yeah, arguably more impressive that you spent the money and went through all of the trouble to do whatever they had to do to get that baby.
Right. And now you won't pick up your room? Go pick up your room.
See? Yeah. And that's life, right? We forget all of those big moments. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Speaking of doctors and surgeons and all of that.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but when Drew is talking about the umbilical cord around the baby's neck and how they all just kind of drop the ball for a second, I wouldn't expect you to have said anything about that and waste time, getting mad at the doctors in the session. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't help but think about his distrust of doctors and how that might have played a role in all of that or reinforced that distrust, because even I'm not excessively distrustful of doctors or anything, but I heard that and I was like, what in the world? Like, how did you not immediately? I was a baby with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck too, so maybe there's some like stuff coming up for me, but I was just like, what? Like,
should we talk about this?
No. Yeah, can we unpack this? This is my first trauma. No, I just cannot believe that they didn't do anything. And then at the end, he says that this all kind of restored his hope. And I know he's referring more to the nurse that saved his baby's life.
He says, and I love the doctors that were there. Like he's so grateful. So again, part of this was just letting this come out.
He took away ultimately hope from this.
Yeah. Part of why I'm letting him emotionally spew this out and tell all this to me is that he's not going to retain the deep therapeutic stuff that we're doing today. I just want to let it come out and mark it. And part of what we were marking was the gratitude he has for certainly that one nurse and the doctors. God, that story with the nurse was just incredible.
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really impactful. And something about that too, what I love, he said, I didn't even know how to thank him. And like, that's been a thing for him, like a theme for Drew of not knowing how to adequately, I put that in quotes, thank somebody without just saying thank you. Like that's enough. The thank you period thing, right?
I think sort of what we got to
a
little bit, what I kind of validated for him was that the emotion was the thank you.
Yes.
Right? Allowing that real response, not just giving him an intellectual thank you or here's a bottle of something
gift,
or a gift or something like
I think old Drew might have like come back to the hospital and been like, oh, is this nurse here? Like I have something for him, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, maybe unrelated, but somewhat related, he thanks you at the end for just being there for him.
Yeah.
A simple appreciation, thank you, right? And I was like, oh, that's progress, you know? He's just thanking you with his words. That's cool.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
Yep. He said earlier, all of our work over the last 3 years, you know, leading to this point, like I really called on that. Like
in that moment with the rocking chair, that was another moment that really like obviously stuck out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny. As therapists, we get these very distinct images in our head from what our clients tell us in a session.
Right.
And it's something that is 1 hour of their lives. But for us, it's the story of them that we have. So something that they say during that hour or 50 minutes, right?
If you're really good with boundaries,
really makes an impact. And that imagery of him in the NICU, in a rocking chair, just praying and being completely powerless and giving up control.
I need it painted, like a picture of it.
It's such powerful imagery.
Yeah.
And
really
he will forever remember that. So now I've got this beautiful image of him that I can always pull and reference. Like here is a great frame of reference.
Yeah. And you even said it's a mile marker, but for him, he was like, no, it's like a whole mountain. Like that was life-changing, that whole experience.
And that mountain marker, appropriate enough for him, is where he started to have, for one of the first times in his life, as he said, the fear of death.
Right. And that's what's so interesting. Well, it's not even, I guess, that shocking, right? I mean, you're in the NICU where kids, newborns are maybe potentially dying. And that's a really serious thing. And he's thinking of, oh my God, I can't even fathom. I think he even says this, I could not even fathom losing this baby. It's just something you don't think about until you're put in that moment where you have to think about it.
What's really interesting to me too, and why I think we were using a lot of the issues of control in this and being powerless in this, is that he even said, it's different. I've had a lot of people around me pass away, and like my mom, who didn't pass away, but he thought a couple times. And he took it on himself to be the one that has the responsibility for whether his mom is going to live or die, right? So the difference is it's something that they had control of if they made different choices, and he was stepping in and taking over. This is one where he has no control.
Yes.
He can't step in.
Yeah.
He's not a doctor. He's not a nurse. He's totally powerless. And he's like, there's nothing I can do to prevent this. I can't put on the cape and get in there. I can pray. I can have faith.
Sorry, it just reminded me of something that you said.
What?
Oh my God. He's going from wearing a cape to having an S tattooed on his chest about being a father. And I was like, oh, Douglas.
What?
That really got me. That was good. I was like snapping my fingers while I listened to it.
Right? And it's true. And that's exactly, you're right. That's what that sensation is. With his mom, with other people, he puts on the sweater with the S on the chest and he goes into action. This is much, much different.
He is connected to this being. Like he is responsible for this being. Now I kind of understand his inverse existential anxiety thing that I think he's referring to, which is like he's learned, I am not responsible for my mom, but I am now responsible for this child.
Yeah. And it's funny. Sarah said a long time ago when she said, how could people do this to their children?
Yep.
You know, how could my mom be like, because when I first held my child, I knew there was nothing I wouldn't do for this kid.
Right. Isn't it amazing, though, that some people do not feel that way, genuinely?
That's
like,
what she was saying. Her mom didn't have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh, yeah. That's probably a whole can of worms. But it is really fascinating to think about. Some people are naturally just born to be mothers, or they just really have that. I don't know. Some people would probably say it's a neurochemical thing or an oxytocin hit or whatever. But arguably that happens to everyone if it's a biological child. And I think
the way... And I am not a biologist.
I know, neither
am
I. So,
right, but I think there is something about birth and the mother, child, or whatever being
the
comes
bond,
out of them.
like the skin to skin bond, and all of that.
Which we were talking about the other day with the naked hug.
Right.
There's something like very primal about that, where it's supposedly inherent, and that there it is. It's physiological.
And what I'm talking about, though, that there are moms who do have that and still turn out to be, I mean, let's just say shitty moms. Like,
sure.
Or they just don't feel that primal, protective.
And there are kids that have that experience and they still reject and turn out to be horrible people themselves,
and
for whatever reason.
That's on nature and nurture. It is not versus, it is and.
Right. Psychoanalytic gets into what happens in those moments. Did they have that bond? Was that there? And if not, then what maladaptive came out of that, right?
That's object relations and all of that, right, too?
Yeah.
Going back to the rocking chair thing and being powerless, something that you said...
I probably didn't mean it.
No, you definitely meant it.
Okay.
You said that's a lot of emotion that we're going to need to release.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? You just mean like, was that just kind of a validating statement? Like, oh yeah, this is a lot. Like, let's go. Like, we're going to need to get this out at some point or else it's going to fester and like, what did you mean?
It's me pinning something. It's me saying... yeah, a lot was scary for you. It was existential anxiety. I'm saying to him, there was a lot of emotion there that we need to release. So we're marking that the emotion was present. He goes to the emotional place, right?
He does, but it's a weird thing though, because sometimes you tap into the experiential emotional place and then sometimes you're talking about emotion.
Exactly.
So
this was pure emotion. And where he was, he just needs to get it out. As he said, it was the emotional spew. He needs to get that all out. Like, okay. And there's something that I want to be able to come back to and process what it was like to actually have all those feelings.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you almost said it as a pin for, by the way, we're going to be getting into that. Like, that's a big old can of worms right there.
And well, not just, I mean, that's can of worms twice that you used. But
well, shit. It's not a can of worms. It's really not. It's more so like it's a buffet. It's right there. I mean, it's not sealed.
it's a worm. And I want to be able to say, hey, look, there's a worm.
Yeah.
I want to mark it. I don't want you just to drop a worm and move along.
Right, which you do again, too, when you already are reminding him kind of preemptively, like, hey, by the way, another pin, we're going to be taking care of your hopes and dreams still, just because you're becoming a dad, which I just found funny. And I guess, remember earlier when I was like, how did you relate this all to his overarching, stuff? And it seems like, okay, well, you did, obviously. I'm going through my notes. I'm like, oh, yeah, duh, because that's what we do as therapists. But also, it's apparent in future sessions, as listeners will find out eventually, you do really hone in on his individual hopes and dreams still, like while being a dad, because he can easily forget that stuff.
Well, and there's something also very subtle that I put in there. And part of why I do these things and mark them or repeat them is knowing that there's themes that we've touched on previously and themes that we're going to get to that aren't necessarily in this session. He's talked a lot about the legacy that he leaves and what he wants to do with his life and how he wants to make an impact in some way. When he mentioned that his child is never going to know his grandma, I said something back to him because I know I'm going to revisit that idea. That how his child is going to know what grandma is and what grandma was is through his stories. In the same way that I said, wow, you've got a story now to tell your kid about how he came into the world and how he was born.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's storytelling. It's oral tradition.
Yeah, that is how we function as a society.
How
is
we
by
pass on
storytelling.
our history and our heritage and our culture.
Oh, that's really beautiful, Doug. So you did find those moments of like, this is how he's going to take meaning from this particular
You just have to trust me that I'm going to get there. Speaking of trust.
He doesn't trust his mom with his kid, which understandable, valid, right? Knowing what we know of mom, at least what he has shared, makes sense, right? I was also at the same time thinking like, okay, but these are heightened emotions right now. Of course, he's got that kind of primal protective parent thing going on. And so, of course, in my head, I'm like, you're not going to be this anxious forever. This is so new, right? And then you say, who knows, your mom might actually be a really good grandparent. And okay, what's the function of telling him that? Because is it just sheer reassurance? Is it some sort of a reframe or?
Yeah, it's some sort of a reframe. In part, we're looking at a couple of things. The trust issue, yes. His relationship with his mom is not his child's relationship to his mom.
Right. But what if he realized at some point, like, I need to be disconnected from my mother and I do not want her to know my child?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's his choice. Absolutely.
Okay. But his therapist is saying, well, she might be a really good grandparent, which I think implies
she was an awful mother to him. She might be a good grandparent. And a grandparent relationship to a child is much different than a mother relationship to a child.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
I'm not arguing that.
It's similar to, let's see if I can think of something analogous. What about Polaroids? Like a Polaroid that he has of his mom is not the same Polaroid that his child will have of the child's grandmother.
Of course, yes.
So let the child formulate their own Polaroid.
Okay, but do you know in the back of your mind then, has he said, I want my parents to be a part of my kids' lives? Because that's what I'm wondering. Is it coming from him or is it coming from you, the idea that his mom should even be in his kid's life? Does that make sense?
In the past, he's talked about one of the things that's most important to him is having a sense of family. It's why when he was talking early on at the very beginning of our work, gearing up to go to his brother's bachelor party, his brother's wedding, he didn't have a relationship with his brother. And he was like, that's important to me. I want to have a relationship so that in 10 years, we can say, hey, we're brothers. We have family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know family is very important to him.
So it's leaving room for family's amorphous. It can change. Your relationships with people in the family can change over time. It's allowing it to be whatever it is and not taking his Polaroid of his relationship with mom and superimposing that on child's growing, focusing Polaroid of grandma.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why this is such a sticking point for me. That aside, wow, this is such a heightened emotional session and not emotional like he's just crying the whole time or anything, but like he is so
his emotion is
fresh,
coming out.
Like it is a fresh
wound, it's like the can of worms opened up and all these emotional worms are pouring out of him.
Yes.
And I'm just letting the worms squirm away.
Yes, you are.
And pointing them out.
Okay. Yeah. I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Am I allowed? Permission granted? Okay. How do you...
didn't elevate. You didn't even wait.
I'm going to go.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Doug.
It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Okay. So, well, I asked for permission. I'll ask for forgiveness, too, after I ask this really stupid question. Ready? How do you feel, Doug? I don't know why I put in parentheses. No. I don't know why in my notes I put in parentheses, Doug. How do you feel, Doug, when clients say that they feel better at the end of a session? I mean, I thought the quote, reality is the trippiest of all, was kind of funny. So we could have ended with that. But this question stuck with me because I was like, I have clients who often at the end of a session, like if we do a little check-in at the end of the session, we'll be like, I'm feeling a lot calmer actually about this, or I feel a lot better about this XYZ, issue.
Right.
And I don't know why, not that I don't believe them, but I'm almost like, oh, it's too good to be true. Like they're going to be fucked in a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that this one session, really? You feel better after one set? Like, okay,
sure.
Cool. I hope
it doesn't mean they are better.
Right.
It means they feel better.
In that moment.
Right.
Okay.
And look, I mean, you can go so many different ways with that. You can go, oh, they feel better. And like you said, well, do they really? Are they just saying that? Or like, oh, cool. I'm glad they feel better. Like, nice.
Right. I need more non-attachment to this is what you're saying.
Right. It's just saying like they feel better. It could be like, wait, I need a better, hang on. I need a better analogy.
He's going fishing for an analogy.
No, because the one that I was going to use is, fine, I'll just say the one I was going to use and we'll just go with that.
Yeah, perfect. I want it to be less than perfect.
Sometimes when you have a really good bowel movement.
I knew it. Oh my God. The way that you were.
I didn't want to go there, but I'm going there. And you go,
everybody poops, Doug.
I feel better. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't necessarily
like
mean
that
all
after.
your GI issues are cleared up. It just means, I felt better.
Just for that moment or that day even.
Right.
That feels good.
So that's fine. Cool.
And that doubly, I think, works because you're releasing something.
And that's what a lot of this session was, as I said, releasing the emotion, letting it just be and letting it come out. And
release the
hounds.
Release the hounds.
Release the hounds.
Release the hounds. That's what I'm thinking of for this session.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And
that's the title of the episode, right? Really? Kidding.
I think it really was just him getting to release all this. And I mean, so many things in here that I can reference back to and come back to. But the overall was he just needed to emotionally spew, get this out, tell the story of the birth, walk through it all, have the existential anxiety come up and go, I feel better now.
Yeah, sometimes it really is. I don't know why there's some research that says catharsis is not a real thing because I'm like, I'm not buying it. The experience of catharsis is so real. How dare
yeah.
you take that away
Absolutely.
from people? Releasing something, like truly just venting, just getting something out. Yeah, it's not going to heal you, or like you said, it's not going to fix anything necessarily, but that's not the point.
No, the point is to get it out, to have that bowel movement, to have that experience.
Doubly, I think what's great about therapy and just connection to with another person is having someone else witness it.
Absolutely.
You know, and just to be vulnerable and just,
yeah. And
so
if you guys would like to witness more.
Yes, there you go.
Please.
I served that to you. You're welcome.
I will take it with my can of worms. I appreciate
Beautiful.
it.
Great.
And you guys can look for us on social media. Look for us here. We might be coming up on our summer break, though, in the next week or two. So
summer break. Woo! I hate summer, honestly. God, I hate summer. Now I hate it even more because I don't get to be on the podcast. Wah.
I can still talk to you every now and then.
No, I only like to talk to you on the podcast. Otherwise, nah.
Nah, forget it.
Yeah.
Out.
Boss.
On that note.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great summer.